Welcome to meeting number 89 of the Standing Committee on Access to Information, Privacy and Ethics. Today's meeting is taking place in a hybrid format pursuant to the standing orders. Members are attending in person in the room and remotely using the Zoom application. Again, just a reminder about interpretation and earpieces, keeping them away from the microphone. And so I'm going to open up the meeting. There's only one order of business today, and that's to deal with the committee's request to have the documents given to us as of 5 p.m. yesterday related to the ISED documents, that the committee passed a motion. You'll recall that we did pass a motion to have those documents produced to the committee unredacted by 5 p.m. yesterday. The deadline came and went yesterday. I asked the clerk several times to contact department officials to make sure that we had the documents. Shortly after 5 yesterday, Madam Clerk, I think it was, they said that they needed more time. I gave them more time in good faith till 10 a.m. this morning, and then at 10:03 this morning, and there were several requests this morning that were made of department officials to get the document to us by 10 a.m. At 10:03 this morning, they said that they needed more time, and as far as I'm concerned, that wasn't acceptable. So what I need from the committee, after we passed a motion to have these documents to be produced to us by 5 p.m. yesterday, I need some direction from the committee as to where you want to go with this at this point. Right now, that's the only order of business that we have on. Unfortunately, because of this, I had to cancel with the European group that we were supposed to meet with, but this is pressing and it defies a committee motion, and I want to make sure that we deal with it as quickly as possible. So, Mr. Barrett, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have a motion that I'd like to move. I just sent it to the clerk and have asked that it be sent to the interpreters. And I just want to check to make sure that it has been sent before I read it, and then I'd like just a quick chance to speak to it. And the
point of
motion,
order, Chair. Just can you just clarify though? You didn't mention we did get an unredacted copy, which was distributed. We did not get the we got a redacted copy, but we did not. Correct. We didn't get the unredacted copy that we asked for in the motion.
That's correct. The motion that was passed on Monday was and you moved the motion.
I edited it, but yes.
But you amended the motion was that the unredacted copy of the report was to be in our hands by 5 p.m. yesterday afternoon. And so I spoke about the circumstances that and the effort that was put in to get those documents to the committee. They weren't given to the committee. I actually, in good faith, as I said, Ms. Damoff, extended the deadline to 10 a.m. this morning. We still didn't receive them, and here we are. So
no, that's fine. But we did get a redacted copy.
Yes, we did. Yes.
Okay.
And
thanks, Chair.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, we do have a motion that came before us, right? So
that's a motion. It's in English only.
Okay.
So the interpreters have the text.
Okay.
And they will provide interpretation.
So I'm just going to move the motion as a matter at hand.
Okay. So on the matter at hand, Mr. Barrett, go ahead with your motion, please.
That the committee, considering the government's unsatisfactory response to the order adopted on October 18, 2023, and its failure to respond to the order adopted on October 30th, 2023, orders the Department of Industry to produce the Department of Industry to produce the unredacted version of Raymond Chabot Grant Thornton's fact-finding exercise report for Sustainable Development Technology Canada in both official languages within 24 hours, provided that if this order is not satisfied, the chair be instructed to present the following report to the House forthwith. Your committee recommends that an order of the House do issue for the unredacted version of Raymond Chabot Grant Thornton's fact-finding exercise report for Sustainable Development Technology Canada, provided that it shall be laid upon the table in both official languages no later than the sitting day following the adoption of this order.
So can I just, before I give you the floor, again, we deal with, we're dealing with some ambiguity here because within 24 hours. So I need you to specify within 24 hours of adoption of this motion, just to be clear, because that's not in there. So, I mean, if we go till 6:30, then we've done this before where we haven't been specific. I want to be specific. Mr. Barrett.
My intent is that it's within 24 hours of the adoption. Of the
Perfect. Thank you.
And if the motion's in order, I'd just like to speak to it.
Yeah, the motion is in order and I'm going to
Est-ce que
give you.
c'est déjà dans les deux langues officielles?
Je sais pas.
Is it already in both official languages? Can we take a moment? Because when we're reading it very quickly, I find it hard to understand, and we have two official languages, so perhaps we can take a break. We'll take 5 minutes. Is that enough time for you? I'm not a translator. I've sent it to translation, and I don't know how long it's going to take them. Perhaps next time we can get the motions in both official languages. It'll be easier. We're going to start with Mr. Barrett, who will talk about the motion. Can we take a break for 5 minutes? 1 moment, please.
Okay, I'm gonna grant the break, Madame Fortier. Hopefully, we can get this in time, and then we're gonna go to you, Mr. Barrett, when we return. Okay, so I'm gonna suspend for a few minutes, and we'll be back. Okay. To resume the meeting. A couple of things I just want to point out. Number one, it's just much more helpful if we have them in both official languages when a motion is moved like this. Second thing is, I know Mr. Barrett, when you were reading it as unredacted, but in the motion itself, it said redacted. That has been corrected in the motion, so just so you know, okay? And I am going to go to Mr. Barrett. Go ahead on the motion, and then Ms. Damoff after that.
Okay, thanks, Chair. The committee has twice asked for these documents, and in the first instance, the documents weren't, the committee was not furnished with them in a timely fashion. And the version that we received, a redacted version, would have been one, and knowing that it was prepared in both official languages, it would have been one that the department could have sent to us. The availability of a minister to testify at the committee, though I would like a minister to attend when it's best suits the committee. We heard the parliamentary secretary in the House today say that the minister is attending the committee on Monday. So this document production was requested weeks ago, and now the availability of the minister is such that he's appearing at our next meeting, and we don't have the opportunity, we haven't had the opportunity to have the documents in the format that they were ordered. The committee has a lot of options with when its powers are disregarded, and this proposal, this motion, is not one that exaggerates the necessary response. I appreciate hearing from the chair that though the committee did set a deadline for the department, that the chair used his discretion to offer an extended deadline, and it is regrettable that that deadline was not met. The motion before committee provides for the respondent, for the department, again, an extended deadline, and should they not furnish the committee with the document in the unredacted fashion as it was ordered, the committee has then exhausted its powers. Then it becomes a matter for the House. And the proposal on how it is referred to the House is not inflammatory or hyperbolic. It simply allows the House the opportunity to discharge its powers because it's very important that when the House of Commons standing committees do order the production of papers or the appearance of people that it is respected, and it's important that that is upheld, and that's why this is proposed in that way. The redactions in the document don't appear to simply be 7-digit phone numbers or first and last names. There appears to be redactions that are beyond that. The extent to what commercially sensitive information could be contained in the large sections that are redacted, I don't know. But the committee did issue its order. I think that it is important that the committee has the full information available to it before having the minister attend the committee and his officials attend the committee on Monday. And that's the spirit in which this motion was put forward. And I hope that we can have resolution to it quickly. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barrett. Next, we're going to go to Ms. Damoff, on the motion, which everybody is receiving a paper copy of right now. Ms. Damoff, go ahead, please.
Thanks a lot, Chair, and I want to thank my colleague for bringing this forward, and also the way he has brought it forward. I think he's done it in a collegial way, which I know I personally really appreciate. This is a serious matter, and the government does take it seriously. When these allegations came forward and the minister did act on them, we're going to have him here, from what I understand, on Monday, but it is a serious situation. And the committee did ask for something. Mr. Barrett enlightened me when we were chatting during the break that when you file an ATIP report, what comes back to you has comments as to why things are redacted. So when that's not there, it's natural to assume that there's more taken out than there should be. We don't know. Because all we have is a document that has some information, but with big blanks in it. I don't think anybody on the committee wants to have personal information, people's names, phone numbers, or anything that would identify the companies that were in this. I think we're all on the same page. It's just whether or not this document actually has only been redacted for that, or if there's additional information that's been taken out of it. And my parliamentary intern, they're always particularly smart, printed out the Access to Government Records part of the Access to Information Act, which references, trade secrets of a third party. So I think what we're facing right now is a department that is got legal saying this is what needs to be taken out, and a committee who wants to have all the information that we should have to be able to look at this. So I was going to make a proposal that the committee send a strongly worded message from you, Chair, that they review their redactions to ensure that, so it's not a motion yet. I just want to put the idea out there. I see the clerk going, she needs a motion. The idea would be that the redactions be reviewed for their appropriateness, and any redactions that are left in, an explanation is put with that redaction as to why. So whether it's personal information, whether it's corporate, business, but they also review whether or not they're appropriate, and that we give them 24 hours to do that and get it back to us. The only issue will be is that we have the minister coming on Monday, and if we got that on Thursday by close of day, and it's not satisfactory to members, I don't know what recourse that we have to ensure we have something for Monday. So I just wanted to put an idea out there, Chair, to try and come to a compromise, because I think we all want the same thing with this.
Thank you, Ms. Damoff. And oftentimes, ideas, as much as they're in good faith, need to be in writing so that we are very clear. I didn't hear you propose an amendment, but
I didn't yet,
okay.
but I can.
The floor has been given up at this point.
Okay,
so
sorry.
Mr. Couric had his hand up, and so we're going to go to Mr. Couric, and then I will. I see Monsieur Villemure afterwards. So go ahead, Mr. Couric.
Thanks very much, Chair. And it is disappointing that it seems like we are once again at a committee finding that we are now left with fewer options to ensure that Canadians are ultimately getting the answers that I certainly think they deserve. I understand, and having now spent most of my time elected to Parliament at this committee, understand the rules surrounding why redactions can and sometimes are needed, and the protection of that sort of information. But Chair, I think that we are, as a committee now, confronted with the larger challenge that exists in terms of that culture of secrecy that finds it optional within the government to provide information that is requested, to ensure that Parliament, of which government is a function of, and committees being a part of our parliamentary structure, government doesn't rule the country. it is accountable through acts to Parliament. And I find it very, very frustrating, very disappointing that there is not a more forthcoming nature to the way that the government conducts itself in terms of providing information. And that, Mr. Chair, I certainly would have been very amenable had there been a willingness of the department to have an honest, upfront conversation about why redactions were necessary, about releasing the report as in a manner that would have satisfied the demands of this committee. But instead, we now have what is a defiance of the will of Parliament and what I believe was a unanimous motion that was put forward. So it was supported by all political parties to ask for this information. It hasn't been provided. I think that it's frustrating and certainly very disappointing that we are now forced, and with the revelation that the minister is coming on Monday, I think that that's a good opportunity to ensure that we ask some of those important questions. But having gone, not providing the information leaves too many question marks. And the motion that Mr. Barrett has put forward, I think, is entirely reasonable. It does exactly what our parliamentary system is designed to do, and the function of and ensuring that government, as a function of Parliament, is able to be held accountable therein. The time is I would suggest past for the department having and the clerk having reached out, as you've described, Chair, many times, asking for this reasonable conversation to take place, and the department seems to have been unwilling. So I think that ensuring that the department knows that from this perspective, from this committee, that they are to be held accountable, and that if they are not willing to abide by that, and I am entirely I am more than happy to be as reasonable as possible when it comes to making sure their phone number, personal names, whatever the case is. But Chair, this is now just affirming that culture of secrecy that seems to dominate every time a request is made for government to provide answers to parliamentarians on behalf of Canadians. So I think that this is entirely reasonable. I hope it's something that can garner the support of all members of this committee, and to ensure that we are, in fact, able to access the information that Parliament should be entitled to access. And we now have what is very clearly a department defying a very, very clear request. So there would have been more inflammatory ways to go about this. I think this is entirely reasonable, and I would hope that we can find support around this table to take that next step to say, look, this isn't a option. This is about Canadians getting the answers that they deserve. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carrick. Monsieur Villemure, vous avez la parole.
You have the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Access to Information Commissioner told us twice, after I'd asked her the same question, whether or not the government had a culture of secrecy, told us that the government had a culture of secrecy. That was her impression. The documents, we will receive them. We'll receive them unredacted at some point. But it's a matter of when. And we're receiving the minister on Monday, so that reduces the time frame significantly. As Ms. Damoff mentioned, often when something is redacted, we get the reasons for why it was redacted. But the issue that I have with the suggestion is that we asked for the documents twice, and we were refused or it didn't work, and I'm having a hard time trusting in the goodwill of those people to give us a proper reasoning for this redacted document. Asking this of somebody that I trust is something that I don't mind, but in this case, I don't trust them. I think that there will be delays here. this has caused a lack of trust. And I would like to be able to ask questions of the minister while having all of the information that I need. And so it is essential that we receive the unredacted documents as quickly as possible. Thank you. Thank you, Monsieur Villemure.
See?
C'était juste une question de clarification, Monsieur le Président.
Just a question for clarification. Is it confirmed that the minister is coming on Monday, or is it during the week? Because in the House, it was said that it would be next week, but either through you, Mr. Chair, or through the clerk, do we have a confirmation of the day? I know that the rumor was Monday, but if it was confirmed, it would be good to know.
Clerk was told that the minister is available for Monday. Confirmation is still yet to come, but we are proceeding on the basis that he will make himself available to the committee, as will the deputy ministers and the ADM, as well as SDTC staff as well. Okay, thank you. We need to proceed on the basis that we are going to have this meeting on Monday. Okay, Ms. Damoff, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Chair. I do have wording now. And I don't know the best way to do this because they're fairly extensive, Chair. So do you want me to just read them here? I mean, this is what I have, and I don't think that's helpful to you.
Right, and on that, what we needed in French as well.
To amend a motion?
Well, it would be preferable to have it in both official languages, but Madam Clerk?
Most of it's deletion. The words are not that substantial.
Okay, so I'm gonna get you to go ahead. Je vous dis pour commencer, on va entendre.
We'll hear what Ms. Damoff says, and if we need to have it written in both official languages, we will suspend briefly in order to do so. But perhaps the amendment won't be too difficult. Mr. Chair, Ms. Damoff said that it wasn't substantive.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chair. When I say it was substantive, it's because I'm deleting half of it. So it would basically read that the committee, considering the government's unsatisfactory response to the order adopted on October 18th, 2023, and its failure to respond to the order adopted on October 30th, 2023, orders the Department of Industry to, so I haven't changed anything yet. Now it would say, take every available effort to provide an unredacted version of Raymond Chabot Grant Thornton's fact-finding exercise report for sustainable development technology in both official languages, review the report appropriateness of any redactions, and that an explanation be provided for each redaction and the reason for the redaction within 24 hours. It might be awkwardly worded. I can send that to you, Chair, if you like.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, and I would deem that as a substantive amendment, considering we need this in both official languages. And that's to accommodate Mr. Villemure here, so, and Madame Fortier and Le Président aussi. So, I'm gonna give, hopefully we can get this done in 5 minutes. See what we can come up with. I'm going to suspend again because I want this to work out for the betterment of everyone. So I'm going to suspend for 5 minutes. Let's get this in both official languages and we can proceed from there on the amendment. Order. An amended version of the motion by Ms. Damoff has been sent by email. We are waiting for the printed copy. You all have a copy of the amended version of the motion. Perhaps before I turn the floor back to you, if you can, just read the amended version for the benefit of the committee. Go ahead, Ms. Damoff.
Thanks a lot, Chair, and thank you, colleagues, for your patience in trying to get this right. This is slightly different than what I originally read, Chair. And I just, because it's asking for an unredacted copy, I just want to get on the record that all of us want to protect the identity of private individuals and anything that would identify sensitive business information and make them identifiable. So I think we're all agreed on that. So the motion would now read that the committee, considering the government's unsatisfactory response to the order adopted on October 18th, 2023, and its failure to respond to the order adopted on October 30th, 2023, orders the Department of Industry to provide an unredacted version of Raymond Chabot Grant Thornton's fact-finding exercise report for Sustainable Development Technology Canada in both official languages, review the appropriateness of any redactions, and where redactions are deemed necessary, an explanation be provided for each redaction within 24 hours. I think the wording may still be a little awkward, so if someone has an idea, the intent is that we get this within 24 hours.
Of the motion?
Of the adoption of the motion. That we've asked for an unredacted version. If they do have to redact it, they have to tell us why. That's the intent of it, Chair. And yes, 24 hours after adoption.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Damoff. Sur l'amendement, Monsieur Villemure?
Monsieur Villemure on the amendment. Thank you very much for the revised version. I have one question. When we talk about review the appropriateness and we use pertinence in French, pertinence, that question can be answered by a yes or no. I agree with the amendment, but I think that it's just a little vague. And I think that we need to clarify. So when we talk about reviewing the appropriateness of any redactions, and we need to receive an explanation when a redaction is appropriate. Because we're talking about appropriateness and the explanation, and I think that those two elements should go together.
Address that?
I agree.
sure.
So if there's wording that's more appropriate, Mr. Villemure, that's the intent of what I'm trying to say.
Je pourrais la mettre plus tight en français.
I could change it a little bit in French and it would say about the same thing. So, and where redactions are deemed necessary, an explanation be provided. Or ensure that an explanation be provided. I find that it clarifies the goal is the same, but there's no loopholes in it. Mr. Villemur, if you can perhaps write down the wording that you would prefer, not for us to suspend the meeting again, but if it would clarify, I think that would be good for me. I have Mr. Keurig.
The floor, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Chair. And just to highlight what I had shared before, I think that time has passed in light of the precedent that the government and the department that is meant to be held accountable, time has passed for us to demand anything but answers. And I think it really, the key here is that had the government been forthright and been willing to work with this committee, responsive to the body that it is a function of, we wouldn't be here. So I understand the nuances and discussions around redactions, and however, what the point we've come to is where I am unable to trust that the government will do anything but continue to hide behind any mechanism possible to keep this information from coming forward. And that's where we hear time and time again before this committee about the culture of secrecy that exists. There's a refusal to acknowledge on behalf of the government that it is a function of Parliament. And so I'm certainly unwilling to do anything but ensure that we use the tools available to us to get the answers that Canadians deserve. And when it comes to the information that is being talked about and the sensitivity around it, Mr. Chair, the government could have been forthcoming in the beginning, but they weren't. This lays at the feet of the department and ultimately the minister who is responsible, that they failed to heed by an order, and the consequences of which is that they very well could be putting Canadians' privacy and whatnot at risk. They failed time and time again. This is a reasonable step. This is forwarding this to Parliament, of which the department is meant to be a function of, and I think is entirely reasonable to send the message from this committee, of which there are now, I believe, both the previous motions were supported unanimously by all parties. So this is a chance for us to ensure that we put to action our words and not simply allow the government to skirt around what is a very forthright and an important issue that needs to be discussed. So I think we need to see that document with the minister coming of what it sounds like will be on Monday. We don't have the time to allow them to equivocate or hide behind some declaration that we don't have a chance to litigate further when before the minister comes. So Chair, and I, through you to all members of this committee, I urge them that the time has passed for anything but this committee to demand, and what I believe deserves, the answers that the department seems to be hiding.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keurig. I don't have any other speakers on the list, but I know Mr. Villemur is going to come up with a suggestion. Just hang on, Ms. Fortier. Okay, I'm gonna go to you quickly, and then, well, you have the floor. Hopefully, we can go back to Mr. Villemur soon. Okay.
Je pense que j'apprécie.
I understand the amendment being proposed because we need to be sure that we are protecting sensitive and personal information and companies' information. And so they will have to explain to us why certain information was redacted. And I think that we get all of this in the amendment while having a 24-hour deadline. We also know that the minister accepted to participate at this committee, and I think that it shows that this is something that the minister takes seriously. We've heard through the media and through the minister the concerns around this issue, and I think that the minister will be able to share those concerns with us, and we will be able to ask the questions that we have. Another thing that we should state for the record is that the Auditor General also decided to create a report and investigate on this. She has just started, and we can invite her at a later date. We want to, through this amendment, protect people's personal information and businesses' information, and we also want to meet the minister next week. So that's all I wanted to state for the record. Thank you.
Merci, Madame.
Thank you, Ms. Fortier. Mr. Villemur, please. I sent the document. I made an amendment to the document, and I'll wait for it to be translated instead of reading it out.
Mais je peux l'expliquer si vous voulez.
But in the meantime, I can explain it. It's a linguistic change. After what we discussed, Ms. Damoff, we talked about the what if. So I added what was in the initial motion.
Quand je lis l'amendement,
In reading the amendment, it's not a big change. Yeah, it's just a small change. A very minor change. Could you perhaps share your proposal, please, Mr. Villemur? Certainly. One moment, please. And just before that, the clerk will send an email to all members with the changes. It's only in French. We're going to send the document to the interpreters, and after that, they can interpret your amendment.
Chair?
go ahead, Ms. Damoff.
Une question.
A question, please, Chair?
The whole, I haven't seen it. Is it just a few words changed? Because it would be easier if we just amended to remove the word, whatever it was, available, and replaced it with.
Okay, so the clerk is looking at it now.
Okay.
I'm going to put it in track changes in my Word document, and I will compare.
Yeah, so just hang on a sec. Just hang on a sec. We're just trying to work this out right now.
Thank you.
Okay, Monsieur Villemure,
Mr. Villemure, what we're going to do I'm going to ask the clerk to read the amended motion. We don't have the English translation, but hopefully the interpreters will be able to give us the English translation of the amendment so that we can see where we're at. Madam Clerk, if you would read the amended motion, please. The amendment proposed by Monsieur Villemure reads as follows. So, please read it more slowly. So we're at review here. So, review the need for redaction and when deemed necessary, ensure that explanations are provided to justify the redaction of each of the redacted portions and that this is provided to the committee within 24 hours. The interpreter apologizes. She just read the amended version. For the interpreters, can you read more slowly, please? And read the entirety of the amended motion. So with Mr. Villemure's changes that I received in French, the motion would read as follows. That the committee, considering the government's unsatisfactory response to the order adopted on October 18th, 2023, and its failure to respond to the order adopted on October 30th, 2023, order the Department of Industry to provide an unredacted version of the report on SDTC's fact-finding exercise by Raymond Chabot Grant Thornton for Sustainable Development Technology Canada in both official languages. Semicolon. And here we have Mr. Villemure's change. Review the need for redaction and, when deemed necessary, ensure that explanations are provided to justify the redaction of each of the redacted portions, and that this is provided to the committee within 24 hours following the adoption of this motion. Thank you, Madam Clerk. On the amendment, Ms. Damoff.
I'm just going to be quick and say I think those amendments that he's put forward are absolutely acceptable and honor the intent of what I was trying to say, and he said it far better than I did. So, en français, oui.
okay, thank you, Ms. Damoff. So we've got the amendment as proposed by Mr. Villemure. Is there any other discussion on the amendment? I don't see any. So I'm going to ask if we have unanimous consent on the amendment. We don't. Okay. So I'm going to ask for a vote, please, on the amendment.
the vote.
Sorry, I just, Ms. Idlot, did you have anything to add, or?
For the copy of it.
Oh, okay. We can, the,
The
yeah,
copy of what I just had?
the challenge is we don't have a copy of it, and that's what, we read the amendment as proposed through the translators,
I can make copies in a minute.
but it's only in French.
Yes. Yeah.
We can only make a copy in French right now, so if you require it in English, we're gonna have to translate and then likely suspend again. So that's where you want it. If that's what you want to do, then let me know. Just for a minute or two? Okay, so let's, we'll suspend for a couple of minutes. The amended version of the motion has been sent out. Everybody should have it. Is there any discussion on this? I don't see any. Okay, so on the amended motion, the motion as amended, we don't have agreement, so we're going to have a vote. Madam Clerk, if you want to,
Are we voting on the sub-amendment, or is it the whole thing as amended?
well,
Just for clarity,
yeah.
I support it. I just
Right.
want to get clarity what
so
we're
I
doing.
think what we're going to do is vote on the amendment, and then we're going to vote on the motion as amended. Okay?
Or you will have to move it after.
Yeah. You'll have to move it after we finish with this, okay? So, on the amendment of Mr. Villemure. You want to call the vote?
Mr. Baines,
Yes.
Ms. Damoff,
Yes?
Mr. Callaway, Madame Fortier,
Oui.
Ms. Krutakis,
Oui.
Mr. Barrett,
Nope.
Monsieur Gourde, Mr. Carrick,
No.
Monsieur Villemure, Ms. Idlout.
Ang yak po nga, yes.
So yeas 3, yeas 7, nays 3.
Okay, thank you. So the amendment carries. We're open discussion on the motion, on the main motion now. Any further discussion on the main motion? Monsieur Villemure?
Moi, c'est approprié, c'est le moment pour
I'm not sure if this is the time for a sub-amendment or not. On the motion? One moment, please.
Okay, Monsieur Villemure, je vais...
Monsieur Villemure, the clerk is going to explain for all members of the committee. Go ahead, Madam Clerk. So just to clarify, Monsieur Villemure, you talked about a sub-amendment, but a sub-amendment would have amended Ms. Damoff's amendment. So we'll just use the right words here. So what Mr. Villemure sent me and what I've read is not a sub-amendment, but rather an amendment to Mr. Barrett's motion to the part of if the order is not satisfied.
Just a new amendment. Okay?
Disais encore?
Please repeat yourself. And so this would add on to what we just did, correct? Let me explain. We had Mr. Barrett's motion. We debated on the motion. Ms. Damoff proposed an amendment, and we talked about that. And we had Mr. Villemure's adjustments. And now we're coming back to the main motion as amended, and Mr. Villemure has another amendment that has to do with another aspect of Mr. Barrett's original motion. So it's not a sub-amendment. It is another amendment to the motion, the main motion as amended. So, an amendment on the amended motion. And so now we need Mr. Villemure's amendment. If you would like to propose your amendment. Mine follows if this order is not respected. That the chair recommends that a House order be issued for the production of the unredacted version of the fact-finding exercise report produced by RCGT on behalf of SDTC.
OK. L'amendement est en ordre.
The amendment is in order. Comments?
Ms.
Thanks,
Damoff.
Chair. I'd like to propose a sub-amendment to Mr. Villemur.
Yeah, you're just going to have to hang on a sec here.
Yep.
Because I'm just dealing, the clerk's dealing with one thing at a time. So we've heard the terms of the amendment by Monsieur Villemur, and Ms. Damoff is proposing a amendment to the amendment. Go ahead, Ms. Damoff.
Just adding that if the committee is not satisfied before that amendment begins. So the committee is going to have to decide if what we receive is satisfactory. And if we determine as a committee that it's not, then you send the order to the House. So the change would just be that the committee is if the committee is not satisfied, then you send the order to the House Chair.
Okay. I guess my question would be then of one of process. If the committee is not satisfied, then how would we handle that? Because
You send the order to the House Chair.
if we have to have a process. My point is we have to have a process in order to do that. I called this meeting today because we didn't receive the documents. I was looking for direction. I'm receiving some direction. So are you going to leave it? Who's going to determine on behalf of the committee? Is it going to be the chair that's going to determine that, or the committee? So
Committee.
what's the mechanism then for the committee to advise the chair that they're not satisfied with the documents? That's my question.
I guess you'd have to call another meeting, Chair.
Okay.
I don't know if there's another process that we can do. If there is, if it can be done by an email vote, Chair, I'd be fine with that. But I think it should be up to the committee as a whole to decide whether what we get or not is satisfactory.
As, playing cynic here, if this means that we need to call another meeting, if I'm department officials, I'm just sort of dragging the puck on this. And we have to have another meeting to determine where we're going to go. There has to be at some point a final issue where the department knows that they're not fulfilling the request of this committee. So, I mean, if we have an understanding that, and I don't even think I can put it in an understanding, I'm going to need it specific, that if the department officials don't do what we're asking them to do, I don't want to have another meeting about it. What I want is some final decision. So if that means that we can deal with this on email, that we're not satisfied, I'm not even sure we can do that procedurally. So just give me a second here because I got to deal with the clerk on this. But you understand my concern. Like the department, if I'm a department official and I know that they're going to have another meeting, then I'm ragging the puck on this and I'm not giving them what
But
we
in
want.
fairness, Chair, we don't know that. They missed the first deadline. The first deadline, I put some of the blame on us for not putting a date on it. And they didn't respond in what the committee felt was a timely matter. But we didn't put a date on the first one. So I think you've brought up quite rightly, Chair, that in the future we need to be more specific on timing, right? So I'm new to this committee. I'm going to go on good faith that we can do this. And from my side of the Liberal side, I certainly will be pushing to make sure that we do get something. But I think it should be a committee decision whether it goes back to the House or not, Chair.
Okay, I appreciate the amendment. The amendment's on the floor. I've shared my concerns with respect to it. And that is that we may not be able to dispose of it or deal with it as quickly as we might if they do come back and not give us the information. But the amendment's on the floor. Any further discussion on the amendment? On Ms. Damoff's amendment to the amendment? Okay, so do we have agreement? I don't see any further discussion. Do we have agreement on that? No? Okay, so let's take a vote on Ms. Damoff's amendment. Madam Clerk, if you can take the vote, please.
So on the, what is a sub-amendment from Ms. Damoff
Sub-amendment, yes, thank you.
to the amendment of Mr. Vilmura, Mr. Baines,
Yes.
Ms. Damoff,
Yes.
Mr. Callaway,
Yes.
Madame Fortier. Oui. Ms. Koutakis,
Oui.
Mr. Barrett,
No.
Monsieur Gourde,
No.
Mr. Kirk,
No.
Monsieur Vilmur, Ms. Idlard.
Angek po nga, yes.
Thank you. Yes, 7, nays 3.
Okay, so Ms. Damoff's sub-amendment passes. We're now on the amendment by Monsieur Filmeur as amended. Any further discussion on that? We don't have agreement, so we're going to go to a vote on Mr. Vilmeur's amendment as amended.
Mr. Baines,
Yes.
Ms. Damoff,
Yes.
Mr. Callaway,
Yes.
Madame Fortier,
Oui.
Ms. Koutakis,
Oui.
Mr. Barrett,
No.
Monsieur Gourde,
No.
Mr. Kirk,
No.
Monsieur Vilmur,
Oui.
Ms. Idlard.
Angek po nga, yes.
Yeas 7, nays 3.
Okay, so Monsieur Vilmeur's amendment passes. We are now on the main motion as amended. Do we have agreement? Mr. Barrett, go ahead.
No, Chair, just looking at the time, I hope that we can get it to a vote, so I'll be very brief. Mr. Kirk said very well earlier that the good faith that the government could have been afforded cannot be afforded because they have twice missed deadlines. A document that was already prepared, available in both official languages, should have been furnished to the committee by end of business on the day that the motion was passed, or the first day by which the ministry would have been aware of it, which would have been the next day. So my concern is that the information that's being kept redacted is not personally sensitive information, it's politically sensitive information. We'll be voting against.
Mr. Barrett, and the purpose for calling today's meeting was to receive direction from the committee, and 2 hours later, I think we do have direction. And on the main motion as amended, I'm going to refer to the clerk to call the vote, please. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Baines,
Yes.
Ms. Damoff,
Yes.
Mr. Callaway,
Yes.
Madame Fortier,
Oui.
Madame Koutakis,
Oui.
Mr. Barrett,
No.
Monsieur Gourde,
No.
Mr. Kirk,
No.
Monsieur Vilmur, Ms. Idlard.
Angek po nga, yes.
Yeas 7, nays 3.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. The motion as amended carries. Ms. Damoff?
Just a very quick question, Chair. The 24 hours, can you just clarify? It was 24 hours from the adoption being, so it's 6:30 tomorrow, is that correct?
I'm going to proceed on the basis that it's 6:30 tomorrow, 24
Thank
hours
you.
after the motion is
Okay.
adopted. Okay? Thank you for clarifying that. That's all the business that we have today. Again, I want to thank all the members for making themselves available, with apologies to the European delegation that we were supposed to meet informally today. We had important business ahead of us, or before us, that I felt needed to take over precedence on that meeting. So thanks again to all the committee. Meeting's adjourned.